Just a little further, Jack told himself as the entrance appeared right before him, but it was never that easy. Before he could take another step, the massive maw of a giant serpent lunged from his side. Its mouth opened to its widest extent as it slammed into the ground, sending rock and debris flying. Fortunately, Jack dodged the attack in the nick of time, a flicker of rage igniting within him. It was time to teach this snake a lesson. As the thought formed, he immediately unleashed the first form, dragon-slaying cleave, from his dragon-slaying arts, creating a flurry of slashes across the serpent's body that made it shriek in agony. Its blood splattered everywhere, and where a few drops landed on Jack, they sizzled and smoked, forcing him to pause. Its blood is acidic, he realized. A 9-headed monster with acid blood. Even his master from his past life had only barely managed to defeat it. The 9-headed Hydra. All right, let's give this a try. He tightened his grip on his sword as the Hydra's 9 heads fixed their dangerous gaze upon him. As one head lunged with its venomous fangs, Jack gritted his teeth and blocked with his sword. Clang! The ear-splitting sound of steel on fang echoed like a death knell. Before he could recover, another head roared, its emerald-green eyes radiating a murderous aura that made the air feel as heavy as mud. Though his body was screaming with exhaustion, Jack skillfully took a few steps back to regain his footing, muttering, "Damn it! What good is this dragon-slaying art anyway? Dragons are extinct, and the closest thing is this dragon-kin monster that just regenerates everything. This is so damn annoying." He bitterly admitted his current strength wasn't enough, but the shimmering gate to the sanctuary was only 30 meters away. An idea struck him, and he roared, "System, close the gate!" The system responded in the monotone voice of a bored office worker, confirming administrator's request. Closing the gate to the sanctuary of the hero King Caius. As the gate rumbled shut, shaking the entire cave, Jack stabbed his sword into the ground, unleashing a wave of energy that made the snakeheads flinch. "Secret art! Gale slash!" he bellowed, and a brilliant arc of light shot out, severing one of the Hydra's heads. As purple blood sprayed like grotesque fireworks, Jack bolted for the closing gate, thinking, "Good, it's disoriented. Time to bail." But the Hydra was no fool. Its eyes lit up, and a head stretched like rubber, its fangs snapping at him from all directions. He was just steps away when, crunch! A lightning-fast bite tore his left arm clean off. Blood gushed against the sealed gate as he staggered through, hissing, "Damn it, you goddamn snake! You followed me all the way here?" Rage erupted like a volcano. "You wanted my arm so badly? Then take it! Take!" he roared, leaping back into the fray. As his immortal body began regenerating a new arm, he unleashed a storm of steel on the nearest head. The Hydra shrieked in frustration and spat a thick cloud of green toxic gas. "Toxic breath, huh?" Jack muttered as the system announced, "You have been afflicted with the Hydra's dragon toxin." Without hesitation, he poured his remaining strength into one final blow, his sword blazing as it severed another head. Drenched in sweat and pale from the poison, Jack faced the last, desperate head, charging to drag them both to hell. "All or nothing," he gritted his teeth. "I'm not dying here." At that critical moment, he activated Dragon's Might. An overwhelming pressure slammed down on the Hydra, and Jack's voice was cold as ice. "I'm not kidding. Get lost unless you want to end up as sausage." The terrified Hydra trembled before fleeing without a second glance. Jack collapsed, panting, wondering why he was still exhausted despite his limitless stamina when the system chimed in. "You have successfully imprinted fear into the corrupted dragonkin. Would you like to activate your dominion over dragonkin authority to tame the target?" His eyes lit up. "I can tame it? Awesome!" But his hope was crushed by the next message. "Insufficient administrator privileges. Taming failed." "Are you kidding me?" he yelled, just as a crippling headache hit him. "Warning, Hydra's dragon toxin has surpassed critical levels." "Damn it, this cursed poison!" he hissed, his regeneration failing. Then, an idea sparked. Dragon skill. Devour! Without a second's delay, he activated the skill on the severed heads, which began to melt and smoke as if in a forge. The system's updates flooded his vision, culminating in a final series of notifications. Digestion of corrupted dragonkin's severed head is complete. Skill. Devour has leveled up from rookie to proficient. Acquired trait. Bloodline toxin resistance. Incomplete. Detoxification process initiated. And just like that, the poison began to recede. Jack frowned, rereading the last line. "Tears of the Elven Queen," he mumbled, rubbing his chin, his mind a tangled mess. "Caius's mother, the being who bestowed blessings upon humanity. And I get her tears as a reward?" He looked up at the crystal, which shone like the eyes of an NPC about to give an impossibly difficult quest. "I'm starting to get nervous now," he whispered. "Caius's mother can grant any wish, so why are her tears the reward?" Jack was still reeling, muttering like a man in a daze. "I don't know what this is for, but it has to be an ultimate peerless treasure. He turned to the system, his voice urgent. How do I achieve this progress? The system beeped, responding as coldly as an AI assistant filing a complaint. Administrator's request confirmed. Extracting data from the magical recording device. 546 magical videos of Hero King Caius detected. 12 videos matched the requirements. Playing the first video. The screen flared to life, magical light flickering like a faulty stage lamp. A hazy image appeared, accompanied by an ancient voice speaking a long-forgotten language. The system announced, automatically translating to the common tongue of the central continent. A figure materialized, so handsome he looked divine, with a presence as powerful as a world-ending vortex. The man spoke. What is a sword? It's a sword! What else could it be? All those old geezers who drone on about the way of the sword but can't even manage a single decent slash. Utter nonsense. From behind, a voice shouted, Hey, Satan! Focus the camera! The screen shook violently as if kicked. Jack held his breath, his eyes wide. No way. The one speaking is the legendary hero King Caius. And that must be Satan, his loyal guard from the stories. This isn't a reenactment. It's real footage. The image continued. Caius raised his sword in the darkness, the blade glinting with a cold light that seemed to tear the shadows apart. Just by watching, Jack felt his heart clench as if stabbed. His entire body trembled, and he fell backward, his limbs weak and sweat pouring down him. A single thought consumed his mind. That presence, that pressure, just from a screen, and I almost passed out. So this is a footstep of the Hero King? Jack's eyes lit up like a child who just found a new toy. He burst out laughing. I love it. System, play that video again from the beginning. Administrator's request confirmed. Time passed silently. 4 days had gone by since he'd been trapped in this place, which looked like a dungeon but was actually a private training chamber for Caius's successor. Before him were 3 doors. The first room was stocked with enough food for a month. The second was as comfortable as a 5-star hotel, with a bed as soft as a cloud. The third contained military documents, books, weapons, and training equipment. Jack spent his days swinging his sword, repeating the motion tens of thousands of times, trying to imitate Caius's form. But he still couldn't replicate that world-shattering presence. Suddenly, the system chimed. You have learned the footstep of Hero King Caius. Basic elemental sword. Jack was startled. Elemental sword? Immediately, a storm of notifications flooded in. Basic phase complete. Commencing application phase. Summoning the soul of Hero King Caius. A magic stone glowed brightly, and from the light, a hazy but majestic figure emerged, stepping forward as if resurrected from an ancient era. Hero King Caius, the immortal king of Kronos. Jack's face went pale. What? Don't tell me. Is that the real Hero King Caius standing right in front of me? Before he could process it, Caius suddenly tightened his grip on his sword, his eyes as cold as ice, as if he intended to slice Jack in two. Before Jack could even wonder what he'd done wrong. Whoosh! Caius lunged like a lightning bolt, his sword swinging down. On pure reflex, Jack drew his own sword to block. Clang! The sound of metal on metal vibrated through the chamber. Jack gritted his teeth and yelled, What the hell? Why are you attacking me all of a sudden? A second later, boom! Caius's stormy power sent Jack flying like a dry leaf, tumbling across the ground. Covered in scrapes, he gasped for air like a fish out of water. Caius's voice boomed with authority. Get up! Did you think sword training was a game of whack-a-mole? As Jack scrambled to his feet, he thought to himself, He's going to teach me by beating the crap out of me, isn't he? This feeling was all too familiar, just like meeting his master from his past life. As Caius walked, he spoke. It's as if I'm giving a lecture. In the old days, I was told to train with my own strength. If the knights of the past saw you like this, they'd probably have a heart attack and claw their way out of their graves. The pressure radiating from Caius was as heavy as a mountain, yet Jack was still confused. What did he want? Was this a test, or was he just toying with him for fun? Not giving him time to think, Caius swung his sword, a powerful slash that tore through the ground and shot straight toward him. Jack yelped as if being chased by a bull. What the hell is this? Is he trying to kill me? Sweat poured down his face as he rolled out of the way just in the nick of time, thinking, Damn it, can I even block this? This guy is a monster in human skin. A slight smile formed on Caius's face, his eyes gleaming like a pervert watching a comedy show. Jack's muscles tensed, wanting to punch him, but he swallowed hard and told himself not to overthink it. Just go all out, like always. He gripped the hilt of his legendary sword and drew it, his aura exploding like a detonating furnace. Jack took a deep breath. Let's do this. Caius blinked, muttering, Are you Satan's student? So he finally succeeded. What is that power? An aurora? Jack didn't answer, instead lunging forward, his sword cutting through the air like a thunderclap. But Caius just casually swung his own sword to block it, as if he were cutting grass. He tilted his head. That's not quite right. Jack strained, his face turning red as a tomato. This next strike is going to be exhausting, both literally and figuratively. Caius smirked and launched a lightning-fast counterattack. Does it matter? As long as it's fun. Now, let's see how long you can last. Boom. Boom. The two clashed in an earth-shattering battle, sword against sword, light flashing like New Year's fireworks. But gradually Jack began to lose steam. Sweat dripped from his brow, his hands and feet trembling. He knew he would lose, but he never expected to be steamrolled like this. So this is the true power of a hero king? He looked up and let out a grim laugh. But I'm no pushover either. Click! Jack activated a series of skills. The system chimed like a fire alarm. Activating dragon skill. First strike. Activating dragon skill. Swift assault. Activating dragon skill. Combo slash. Activating dragon skill. Dragon's claw. In an instant, Jack transformed into a raging dragonic whirlwind, his body cloaked in an aura, his swordsmanship erupting like a volcano. He charged straight at Caius, the heat of the battle making the very space around them vibrate as if it would shatter. But Caius was not to be outdone. He summoned a giant, clawed hand and unleashed a devastating blow. Crash! Dust and debris flew everywhere. Caius stood in the middle of the cloud, clicking his tongue. Not a dragonkin, yet you possess dragon skills? How interesting. But Jack had already slipped behind him. A glint appeared in Caius's eyes as he glanced over his shoulder, murmuring, Elemental force too? Jack unleashed his soul god art, his body splitting into countless illusory images that moved like a cyclone, rushing toward Caius. Boom! The two colossal forces collided, exploding into a wave of energy that churned the space around them. Sword chi, murderous intent, and dragon aura all blended into a chaotic symphony. But after a fierce clash, the outcome was the same. Defeat. There was no comeback, no miracle. Jack lay flat on the ground like an uncooked pancake. A moment later, he opened his eyes wide, his expression like someone waking up on a battlefield. Who am I? Where is this? Why am I lying here surrounded by rubble? Beside him, Caius sat with his legs crossed, as composed as if he were enjoying afternoon tea. Seeing Jack awake, he smirked. The weakling is finally awake, huh? He continued leisurely. Still, you have talent. Satan's talent, the power of the dragon race, and elemental force. A rather interesting combination. Jack lay still as a log, his head spinning. Caius frowned as if he'd noticed something fascinating. He moved closer, leaning down to stare intently. Wait a minute. Is your soul interfacing with the spirit realm? Jack grimaced. What the hell is the spirit realm? Caius continued his lecture. You have crossed the boundary between life and death more than once. For an ordinary human body to do that, it's only natural you'd be able to use elemental force. Jack's eyes widened. Another dose of mystical logic. He sighed, wincing. I've been hearing you talk about Satan, the spirit realm, and elemental force, but I don't understand a single thing. Can you explain it to me clearly? Caius smirked, his gaze as sharp as a knife. Are you pretending not to understand? He turned his back, took a few steps, and placed his hand on his sword's hilt, his voice low but powerful. Don't you have a purpose greater than these trivial matters? I know better than you what you're truly learning. He stopped and turned his head, his eyes blazing. It's elemental sword. Elemental force is the purest essence of nature, the foundation of all things in the universe. Water, fire, earth, and wind, the four supreme elements. And the elemental sword is the pinnacle art forged from those four legendary elements. Not just talking the talk, Hero King Caius unleashed an incredible torrent of power, a divine whirlwind that swept through the space, cracking the ground into deep fissures. He declared, his voice like thunder. This is the storm sword, the power of wind, one of the four great elements. His voice deepened. To wield the elemental sword, the core component is none other than ether, the cosmic energy you've heard of. Standing behind him, Jack's face went pale. Wait, what is this? It sounds like magic, but the execution is like pure swordsmanship. Before he could ponder further, Caius suddenly spun around. Now, it's your turn. Jack froze, his mind buzzing. Ether is the source of elemental force? But I can't sense any ether from him. Is the secret in the conversion? He hesitated, then took a deep breath. If so, can you show me how to convert ether into elemental force? Caius raised an eyebrow and scratched his chin. Before he could answer, his sword burst into flames, a crimson fire that threatened to incinerate everything. He laughed. Well, you just do it. What's there to explain? Jack stood there, his eyes wide with a lost puppy expression. Why are all my would-be masters like this? He thought. It's not that I can't sense ether. It's that I can sense so little of it. Harnessing it is like trying to catch a weak Wi-Fi signal. I have to concentrate with all my might just to get a hint of it. Still, he nodded. Yes, I'll try, Caius smirked. Quite the bold attitude. In a corner, Jack racked his brain. Don't believe everything you see. If Caius calls this elemental force, doesn't that mean my soul god art is related? Acting on the thought, he summoned his wind-based soul god art. Less than 3 seconds later, whack! A blow from above nearly made his brain explode. The culprit, none other than Caius, was sitting with his legs crossed, glaring at him with dissatisfaction. I told you to use elemental force. Who gave you permission to use such clumsy dark arts? Jack clutched his head, his eyes watering from pain and confusion. Dark arts? You mean spirit tongue art? Caius scoffed coldly. Yes. Spirit tongue is a secret art only the dragon race can use. For a human like you, using it only harms your body. Every use fractures your soul. You're losing more than you gain before you even die. It's ridiculous. Who would dare turn the spirit tongue art into a recreational skill like this? Now that you know, do it again properly. Jack suddenly remembered absorbing Bahamut's heart at the Dragon Slayer's rest. The system had notified him. Dragon skill, spirit tongue, words hold power. Locked. Administrator's growth level is insufficient. He thought, if the soul god art is based on spirit tongue, then once I grow and unlock it, won't I be able to control the soul god art freely? Another reason to get stronger, faster. While he was lost in thought, Caius lost his patience. He raised his sword to the sky and yelled, Do you need another beating to wake up? Get up now! Jack shot up like a spring. Yes, sir. I'm up. The application training was indeed much harsher than the basics, but thanks to his divinely gifted body, Caius's masterful demonstrations, and countless memorable beatings, Jack gradually began to grasp the principles of the elemental sword. It was like magic, which used formations to channel mana, but the elemental sword used ether as a bridge to summon the power of the elements. Once he understood how to operate ether, wielding the elemental sword was no longer an impossible feat. After days of training drenched in sweat, tears, and a fair bit of blood, mostly Jack's, Caius finally delivered his verdict. You're looking decent enough now, but don't celebrate just yet. The advanced phase will make you wish you were back to licking rocks rather than continuing to train. Take the rest of the day off. Jack gave a sharp salute like a new recruit. Yes, master. Then, as if remembering something, he scratched his head. While I'm resting, may this disciple ask a few questions? Caius gave a slight nod. Ask away. But as he floated in midair like a divine being on a break, Jack paused. He noticed faint motes of light dancing around Caius as if they had a life of their own. So that's elemental force too? His eyes lit up, and he got straight to the point. When we first met, you saw me use Aurora and called me a disciple of Satan. What did that mean? Caius raised an eyebrow, slightly surprised, then answered slowly, his voice low as if recounting a legend steeped in drama. Aurora! Yes, that's what he calls it. I called you that because the technique you use was created by that man, Satan. He always insisted that humans couldn't grasp the elemental sword, yet he created a technique based on ether. Worse, he ignored my techniques and only spread his own. Caius's eyes darkened, his voice laced with bitterness. That man, Satan Draker, that bastard. Jack flinched as if struck by lightning. Satan? Draker? His heart felt like it had been punched. Isn't Satan the noble knight, the hero king's most trusted confidant? The founder of the aura cultivation method known throughout the continent? He has the surname Draker. So the ancestor of the Draker family wasn't Turkan, as everyone thought, but an ancient figure named Satan? Why has no one ever mentioned this? Before the shock could fade, Jack asked his next question. So, this place called the Spirit Realm, where the spirits reside. What exactly is it? Even though I can feel the power of spirits, I still can't grasp its true nature. Before he could finish, Caius snapped his fingers. Click, like a street magician. Instantly, a raging gale roared to life, twisting the air into a vortex and forming an invisible wall in front of them. Jack reached out to touch it. It felt like patting a gust of wind that had been compressed into solid concrete. He thought to himself, his eyes shining. So you can use storm force like this too? Caius's voice echoed from the other side of the whirlwind, deep and resonant. To be precise, it's a bit complicated, but think of it simply like this. The spirit realm is the netherworld, while our world is the physical realm. When a person's physical body leaves the mortal world and enters the spirit realm, it's like crossing a line of no return, a one-way trip with no return ticket. Anyone trapped there can forget about coming back. Jack was stunned, muttering, But didn't you say that a part of your soul still lingers in the spirit realm? So how are you standing right in front of me now, and in a spirit state, no less? Caius relaxed, and an invisible energy radiated from him like pale moonlight spreading through mist. He stretched comfortably and replied in a lazy tone, "Well, it's my first time meeting someone like you, but it's not like there aren't loopholes to cross the boundary of the spirit realm." He glanced over, a smirk playing on his lips. "A prime example would be me. Fortunately, I had a dragon lend me a hand." Jack's eyes went wide, nearly popping out of their sockets. "A dragon?" He gulped, stammering. A dragon helped a human? Are you kidding me? I've never heard of such a thing." Caius frowned, glaring at him as if he wanted to punch him. "What in the world are you talking about? Among all the races, the dragon race is the one that cherishes humanity the most." Jack stood there like a stranded fish, his mind in turmoil. What is this? Dragons cherish humanity? Didn't alpha monsters like Bahamut nearly wipe out the entire world? He thought, so the relationship between humans and dragons in ancient times was completely different. What the hell is going on? Caius shrugged, a glint of amusement in his eyes, but his voice was full of hidden meaning. "I don't need to explain the details, because you yourself are the living proof." He stepped closer to Jack and reached out, gently touching his chest. "This heart and the fang used to forge your sword. Weren't they both given to you by Bahamut himself?" He chuckled softly, his tone half teasing, half praising. Despite his foul temper, he's someone who never refuses a sincere plea. To be honest, he's actually quite lovable, isn't he? Jack didn't answer, just scratching his head while thinking. It seems Caius and the evil dragon Bahamut were close. It's best to keep the whole subjugation incident to myself. He gave a forced smile. "Yes, that's right. Our family has served Lord Bahamut for many generations, so we were rewarded for our loyalty. It seems I misunderstood." Caius burst out laughing. "Ha ha! He's still the same, always looking out for his own. But you must have had a tough time cleaning up the messes his monstrous temper caused. It's because of that fiery personality that he fought with Kronos more than a few times, too." Jack raised an eyebrow, pondering for a moment before asking, "Wait a minute, Kronos is also the name of a dragon?" He continued, "I've heard a lot about Kronos, but as the kingdom of Kronos. Wasn't it a nation? So you're saying the kingdom was named after Kronos?" Caius nodded, his eyes filled with nostalgia. "Yes, because I am his contractor. Back then, we were all racking our brains trying to name the kingdom. Everyone was suggesting ridiculous names while he just sat there leisurely sipping tea. I got annoyed, so I just named it after him to get it over with." Jack's face twisted into a pained smile, but inwardly he was laughing. "A dragon that drinks tea? Don't tell me he uses a transformation spell like in the legends." Caius crossed his arms and closed his eyes as if laughing at himself. "In any case, Kronos wasn't surprised. He probably saw it coming. The truth is, I just wanted his name to be remembered by posterity." In ancient times, when Caius was still present, humans and dragons lived in harmony like sworn brothers. A glorious era now only found in old books and stone carvings. But if a dragon with heaven-defying power were to unconditionally support humanity, the world's balance would tip, pushing the mortal realm to the brink of annihilation. Therefore, the dragon race made a historic decision. They would restrain their power, use transformation magic to become human, and form contracts with those they deemed worthy. They wouldn't interfere directly, only offering support from the shadows like great phantoms behind the flow of history. Those chosen to sign a contract with the dragon were called contractors. "I see," Jack mumbled. He thought, Henry. So that's why an ancient relic was so powerful. It had a dragon's hand in it. But if that's true, why did the relationship between dragons and humans fracture? How did they go from friends to enemies, fading into obscure legends? "I need to reread the history books." Suddenly, from across the room, Caius's voice grumbled. "Hey, I've been waiting so long my mouth is growing moss." Jack chuckled sheepishly. "You've waited 2,000 years for a successor. What's another few minutes?" Caius narrowed his eyes, his voice as cold as ice. "This insolent disciple. Let's see how long you can keep that attitude." He took a deep breath and declared, "The final stage of the advanced training is a direct duel with me." The air suddenly grew heavy, an invisible pressure descending like a mountain. Jack thought, "At this point, it's not much different from the previous fights." Caius smirked, his eyes flashing. "That's why I'm adding a new rule to the training." He held up one finger. "From now on, you are not allowed to eat or sleep. The duel will continue without end until I say enough." Jack swallowed hard, trying to remain calm. "And the next condition?" Caius tilted his head, his eyes as sharp as a blade. "You may only use the elemental sword of the same element as me. And if you violate that rule..." Whoosh! The air ignited as if gasoline had met a spark. Caius unleashed his fire elemental sword, engulfing the space in a blazing inferno. The temperature skyrocketed, and the ground trembled like a forge about to explode. Before Jack could even get his bearings, Caius was right in front of him, his eyes boring into Jack's. "You were asking what happens if you break the rules." His voice was low and threatening. "If you have more than one life, feel free to try." The elemental sword was divided into 4 schools, each corresponding to an element. First was the School of Fire, which incinerated everything with overwhelming heat and devastating flames, possessing absolute destructive power. Next was the School of Earth, specializing in restraining and obstructing opponents by manipulating hardness and mass at will. Following that was the School of Wind. While not as powerful as fire, it was highly versatile for high-speed combat, allowing for rapid movement and projecting sword ki. Finally, there was the School of Water, a comprehensive and flexible power that excelled in offense, defense, control, and even support, as adaptable and harmonious as water itself. And at this very moment, Jack was swept away by a fierce torrent of water created by hero King Caius, leaving a deep gash across his chest. Jack's eyes went wide as he thought, "Damn it, what the hell just happened? His power and scale are far beyond mine. Why is there such a massive gap?" His mind flashed back to the moment he had successfully used the School of Water, creating a massive pillar of water. It had been a fun sight, but his temporary master, Caius, had been less than pleased. He had immediately rapped Jack on the head, causing him to yelp in pain and grumble, "Geez, what is it now?" In response, Caius had bluntly cursed him. "You idiot! That was the power of a waterfall, not a flowing stream." But hearing this, Jack had asked innocently, "Isn't it enough to just manifest the attribute?" To answer, Caius had slowly descended to the ground to enlighten him. "For the other schools, simply manifesting the attribute and swinging your sword is enough to create power. But how many times have I told you? The School of Water is about softness overcoming hardness. Don't you understand? Now do it again." Hearing the hero's explanation, Jack silently cursed in his heart. Damn it. What kind of logic is softness overcoming hardness? I submitted because I had no power to resist. I lost things because I had no power to protect them, to survive, to keep my promises, to repay what's precious to me. My entire life has been a pursuit of that very power. So how could those words ever convince me? Before Jack could think any further, Caius had already enveloped his sword in a stream of water and lunged forward. Jack hastily raised his sword to defend himself, thinking, "Is this old man daydreaming during a duel?" Naturally, he couldn't withstand the pressure from Caius's sword and was sent flying backward. At that point, his whole body began to tremble uncontrollably from the pain. That's right. After the 15th day, I gave up counting. It's been at least a month since this insane training began. No food, no rest, just continuous, endless sword fighting. Thanks to that, I've learned that limitless stamina isn't omnipotent. In front of me is a monster who surpasses me in every way. Damn it. My hands have no strength left. The ground was slippery. As if to prove his point, Jack's foot suddenly slipped and his body tilted backward. At the same time, a massive explosion from Caius's sword sent debris flying everywhere. Fortunately, Jack managed to endure the attack, and a grin spread across his face. I slipped past that heavy blow. Softness overcoming hardness. I get it now. Get it. From the power to hold the sword to the power to stand firm. By letting go of everything, he was finally beginning to understand Caius's words. The way he had learned to control the path of his blade and combine his moves was what had bound his sword's freedom. Cutting away those unnecessary shackles, letting it flow from above like a stream of water, letting the sword find its own path. That's right, I felt this before in my past life. The moment the boundary between me and my sword vanished, the feeling of becoming one with all things. Sometimes fierce, sometimes soft and fluid. At that moment, Jack began to envelop his entire sword in the water element. Around him, streams of water began to churn violently. On the opposite side, hero King Caius did the same. And just like that, they both broke into excited grins and unleashed their elemental swords. "School of Water! Horizon Line!" A flash of light appeared between them. The sound of the two attacks colliding was so powerful it made the very air tremble. Back inside the training room, it was obvious Jack couldn't defeat Caius. His body had completely collapsed, unconscious. Standing before him, the hero nodded with a satisfied smile. "Well done. The successor has followed my footsteps." Jack Draker didn't know how much time had passed when he finally regained consciousness. His head was spinning, and he couldn't quite process what had happened. I was unconscious? How many times has it been now? The first time was when I fought Duke, but back then I overused my dragon skills, and the system forced me into an unconscious state. This is the first time since my regression that I've passed out purely due to physical limits. He glanced behind him and called out for his master. "Caius?" But he saw no sign of the hero. This led Jack to speculate that he had returned to the spirit realm. What he was curious about now was the quest. I think I applied this power of water pretty well at the end there. As if in response to his curiosity, a system screen appeared before him. Linked quest has been completed. Bonus time has been added to the reward. Quest reward. Tears of the Elven Queen, 500 karma points. 3. Random skill cards. Achievement quest has been completed. Bonus time has been added to the reward. Quest reward. System Administrator, rank upgrade 500 karma points. 3. Random gift boxes. System Authority has been upgraded to Intermediate Administrator. New system features unlocked. Beginner's Quest, log upgraded to Intermediate Quest log. Toggleable equipment slots have been enabled. Portal teleportation feature on the minimap has been enabled. Administrator's soul has matured. Soul growth has been unlocked. Part of Bahamut's heart. Current seal level, 90%. Looking at the countless system screens that had suddenly appeared, he couldn't hide his surprise. "That's a lot," he muttered. "Just checking all this will take some time. First, the seal level. It was 95% after I absorbed the dragon's heart. I tried to open the seal back then, but the system locked it. Of course, I know all too well from experience what it's like to have power beyond my means. It seems I can handle about 10% now. Even Dragon Tongue, which can't be unlocked with karma points, and Dominion over Dragonkin are probably related to the seal level. I'll keep an eye on it for now. Next up, the random gift boxes." With that thought, Jack quickly opened the 3 boxes. All 3 contained equipment. The first was a pair of boots made from meteoric iron, strong yet light. Unique ability, none. Special note, set bonus activates when wearing the full meteoric iron set. The second gift was a pair of greaves made from the same material, part of the same set. The final item was a pair of earrings, exquisitely carved from crystal. Unique ability, increases the wearer's aura recovery speed by 15%. Special note, pairs well with a red dress. Of the 3 gifts, Jack was most satisfied with the earrings. "If I sell this to a mage, I could get a fortune," he said happily. "Plus, I now have boots and greaves to go with my gauntlets. That's a full set. And random skill cards, too. As the name suggests, there must be skills in here." He couldn't wait another second and immediately began the skill gotcha. The system quickly displayed the notifications. C-rank skill. Static electricity has been acquired. Static electricity. Generates electricity to shock a target. C-rank skill. Flashbang has been acquired. Flashbang. Fires compressed energy upward, creating an explosion that emits a blinding light and obstructs vision. C-rank skill. Sonic burst has been acquired. Sonic burst. Emits an unpleasant sound that disrupts the opponent's hearing. Seeing the 3 skills, Jack's face darkened with disappointment. "They're all C-rank skills? Geez, if they just gave away high-rank skills for free, all my suffering would have been pointless." Next, he tried testing the static electricity skill. Immediately, the dagger in his hand was enveloped in streams of electricity. Looking at it, countless ideas for applying the skill sparked in his mind. This is a C-rank skill? The power is pretty good for its rank, and I can use it in many ways. If I combine Flashbang and Sonic Burst, I can counter status effects better than the artifact I used in the promotion test. Also, the Authority upgrade. It said a new system feature was unlocked. Here it is. "Toggleable equipment slots," Jack hummed. "You can use equipment in these slots like skills." Seeing this feature, Jack fell into deep thought, considering the best way to apply it. Using equipment like skills. This will be useful in a crisis. Since I have limitless stamina and self-healing, I should use these slots for things other than potions. That was his initial thought, but a second later, his expression changed and he shook his head. "No, wait. Even a seemingly perfect ability has its weaknesses. There's no guarantee I won't run into someone like Caius again, someone my limitless stamina can't handle. I don't know the true limits of my self-healing either. There's always a what-if scenario." To ensure his safety, Jack bought a few life-saving items. You have purchased an A-rank healing elixir, 1465, karma points remaining. Acquired high-grade healing elixir for toggleable equipment slot. Description: a masterpiece by Jabir ibn Hayyan, instantly heals severe wounds and restores vitality. Special note: due to its superior performance, it will not have a second effect on the same target and may have unknown effects. Jack was relatively satisfied with the description. An unexpected expense, but at this level it's worth it. It can be a substitute for limitless stamina or self-healing. And now, the most important reward, Tears of the Elven Queen. He spoke as he took a blue glass vial from his inventory. Tears of the Elven Queen. The tear that fell when hero King Caius lost to the schemes of a dark sorcerer. It can summon the Elven Queen from the spirit realm once by using this tear as a catalyst. After reading the description, instead of being happy, Jack's face turned purple. He had witnessed firsthand just how powerful hero King Caius was. Summon the Elven Queen? He thought. According to legend, the Elven Queen grants wishes to humanity. If all the legends about Caius are true, I can summon the Elven Queen and get a wish? But I only have one chance. I can't use it rashly. Okay, I'll hold on to it for now. There will surely be a time when I need it. With that, he tossed the vial back into his inventory and quickly left the ruins. Time passed quickly. The scene shifted to a corner of the forest, where a red magic circle suddenly appeared on the ground. Jack's form materialized within the magic circle. He quickly surveyed his surroundings and made an assessment. This is an adventurer's outpost. So I really did teleport? The system's new portal feature is incredibly convenient. Simply by selecting a location on the minimap, he could instantly arrive there. Besides requiring more points for longer distances, there were almost no restrictions. With enough points, he could even travel between continents. It wasn't just convenient. It could even help him shake off anyone trying to track him. This will be very useful for my future plans. Jack nodded to himself before his eyes scanned the area and landed on a tree branch full of vibrant flowers. A dreadful suspicion immediately entered his mind. Flowers? In the middle of winter? Don't tell me. It's impossible. Time passed quickly. The scene shifted to Valhalla, the top knight training academy on the central continent. Inside the headmaster's office, a voice full of exasperation rang out. Oh dear, in my 10 years as headmaster, I've never seen a case like this. A new student showing up a month after the enrollment ceremony. The man spoke while pruning a small plant in front of him. Meanwhile, hearing this, Jack could only weep internally. It's not like I wanted to be stuck there for 4 months, sir. The instructor who had given him the recommendation letter had said that missing the enrollment ceremony could lead to his admission being revoked at the headmaster's discretion. Waiting until next year would be a disaster. I need to access the secure archives of Turkon Draker. I have to convince the headmaster no matter what. With this in mind, he bowed and explained his reason to the headmaster. Sir, the truth is, I entered a state of epiphany while training on my own to overcome my shortcomings and lost consciousness for a long time. At these words, Robert Boxer, the headmaster of Valhalla Academy, turned to look at him with sharp, cold eyes. Epiphany? Is that the excuse you came up with after missing the enrollment ceremony? From Jack's perspective, he began to recall information about the headmaster. Robert Boxer, former captain who served the longest in the royal guard of the TB Kingdom, a knight respected throughout the continent. The story of Aiden Draker, the current family head, personally inviting him 3 times to take the headmaster position, is still famous. This is a man who respects honor and principles. An emotional display would be counterproductive. Thinking this, he bowed even deeper and continued. I have no excuse for missing the enrollment ceremony, even if I had 100 mouths. But that is the truth, headmaster. Across from him, Robert's eyebrows furrowed as if he were evaluating whether Jack's words were accurate. After a few seconds, he spoke again. Achieving a state of epiphany is no easy feat. If it were any other student, I would have accused them of lying because it's absurd. But you are a student recommended by the Academy's chairman. I will arrange a place for you. If I judge that your training was more valuable than a month at Valhalla, I will allow you to enroll. Jack actually felt a bit annoyed by the request. Even though I'm irritated that damn Aiden paved the way for me, this is no time to be picky. He quickly said, Thank you, headmaster. Robert then lightly pressed a bell on his desk. Immediately, a servant ran in to receive orders. I want an empty training room immediately. Tell the professors of all departments to gather for a supplementary admission evaluation. Now. The servant nodded and quickly ran off to deliver the message. The scene shifted to a private training room at Valhalla Academy. At that moment, the professors were all gathered. Just looking at their powerful auras made Jack break out in a cold sweat. As expected of Valhalla, every professor here is a renowned knight I've seen at least once in the Continental papers. Knowing this, Jack looked toward Headmaster Robert. Seeing that everyone was present, Robert got straight to the point. Everyone is here. Show us the results of the training you've undertaken. In front of them, Jack began to draw the sword from his back, contemplating just how much of his power he should reveal. Let's see. What should I show them? I can't just casually display the elemental sword here. The pressure is incredible. After all, these are the people who train the strongest knights on the continent. Half-baked skills probably wouldn't even get a reaction from them. If that's the case, I should probably get a little serious. With this thought, Jack began to envelop his sword in a blue mana aura. However, the moment they saw it, a professor in the group couldn't hide his shock and blurted out, Wait a minute, isn't that an aura blade? Beside him, the others looked at each other with disbelief. At only 15 years old, he's already reached the level of a blue knight? Wasn't the youngest person on the continent to achieve that Sir Aiden at 19? As expected of someone with a golden awakening. Their words startled Jack a bit, and he cursed himself. Oh, crap. I forgot. After fighting with Caius for months, I completely forgot to restrain my aura. But luckily, they still thought he was only at the Blue Knight level. Before meeting Caius, his aura had indeed only reached that level. However, ever since he had grasped the School of Water and the Elemental Sword, he had broken his limits and reached the next stage, Red Knight. The most distinct difference between a Blue Knight and a Red Knight was the ability to manipulate the Aura Blade. The Aura Blade was a technique that used aura to sharpen a sword to its peak, thereby amplifying the power of one's imagination. While a Blue Knight could only maintain the blade's original shape, a Red Knight was superior, able to freely maintain and transform its form according to their will and imagination. It's a good thing I stopped at the aura blade level, or this would be much more tiring. Jack let out a sigh of relief internally. Meanwhile, Headmaster Robert approached with a bright smile to congratulate him. Excellent. Compared to a month at Valhalla, this achievement is truly incomparable. An epiphany this valuable. Even if you were a few months late, no, even a few years, it would be worth it. His unexpectedly enthusiastic attitude made Jack's scalp tingle. He's like a completely different person. Of course, he didn't dare say this out loud and instead bowed with a humble tone. Not at all, Headmaster. I would like to once again apologize for not being able to attend the enrollment ceremony due to a sudden family matter. His humble demeanor made the headmaster even more pleased. Ha ha! I told you it's fine. What about the rest of you? Does anyone object to Jack's admission? Not to mention Jack, the other professors were also a bit bewildered by Robert's cheerful demeanor. They all thought, he's always generous when it comes to talents with outstanding potential. And so, the group of professors unanimously agreed with the headmaster's decision. We have no objections. An aura blade that sharp and clear? I'd say it's rare even among genius knights. Exactly. There's no need for further testing. Hearing this, Headmaster Robert smiled and nodded. Then it's decided. Congratulations on your admission, Jack. Atlas, a metropolis on the scale of a kingdom, located in the center of the continent. It was home to Valhalla, the continent's top knight training academy, and the Four Seasons fortress of the Draker family. Among them, the Four Seasons fortress was the residence of the family head and the main pillars of the Draker family, making it the true headquarters of the clan. The scene shifted to Jack's private mansion in Atlas. Just looking at the massive architectural complex was enough to make our protagonist feel dizzy. It's truly magnificent. First the black card, and now this mansion. It's a bit over the top. Jack let out a forced sigh. The moment he opened the door and stepped inside, countless colorful confetti poppers shot toward him, accompanied by the sound of, "Congratulations! Congratulations on your admission to Valhalla!" The organizers of this celebration were none other than his master, Duke, and his friend, Andre. Their clownish appearance surprised Jack a bit. "Master? And Head Professor Andre, you're here too?" In front of him, the clumsy Uncle Duke came forward and gave Jack a few pats on the shoulder, praising him. "My disciple, you truly are a superhuman child. In all my life, this is the first time I've seen someone dare to be absent from the Valhalla enrollment ceremony. Well then, since the main character is here, shall we get started?" the uncle said, gesturing inside, leaving Jack a bit confused about what they were getting started with. To summarize, as soon as I set foot in the mansion in Atlas, I found Duke and Andre had prepared a surprise admission party. I was wondering why people who should have been at the academy were here, and it turns out Duke had been summoned by the family head and had returned to the Four Seasons fortress, then casually moved into my mansion for over a month. As for Andre, he explained with a blush, "I've decided to join Valhalla Academy as a teaching assistant. Sorry about this, but I'll probably be bothering you for a while." Just hearing that, Jack was certain the two had planned this together. Seeing them smile and talk so casually made Jack feel a bit irritated, and he screamed internally, "This is my house! What right do you people have to just decide things on your own?" Time passed quickly. The welcome party had ended. Duke and Andre, after downing more than a dozen bottles of wine, were sleeping soundly like dead pigs on the dining table. Meanwhile, Jack had quietly slipped out to a certain bar. He gave the bartender a gold coin and requested, "A dark beer. I want to meet Kay. Make it a bit spicy." Immediately after his words, the atmosphere in the tavern changed. Then, as if sharing the same thought, all the men drew their weapons and silently surrounded him. But at their actions, he flashed a mocking smile, showing off the family crest on his gauntlets and challenging them. "Well, come on if you've got the guts." Seeing the crest, the grunts obviously didn't dare to utter another word. They awkwardly returned to their seats while the bartender, his face pale, explained in a fluster. "I'm sorry, I should have stopped them. I'll take you to the branch manager," he said, guiding Jack to a secret passage in the back. As they walked, the protagonist took the opportunity to observe everything and had to nod in approval. A secret door sealed with layers upon layers of security magic. Just Kay's style. Before his regression, when talking about the strongest intelligence organizations on the continent, everyone would think of two names: the Black Feather Bureau of the Draker family and the Intelligence Agency of the Roman Empire. But besides those two, there was another organization that few knew about: the Syndicate. Initially, it was just a hodgepodge of smugglers, but then a gopher named Kay used the smuggling network to develop an intelligence industry. Before my regression, I had just been expelled from the academy and had fallen into a criminal organization. After some time trying to survive, I had climbed to the position of an assassin in the organization. And then Kay, the branch manager at the time, had approached me, giving me the mission to clear out key transportation routes. Taking advantage of those cleaned-up routes, Kay began to expand the network and transformed the syndicate into an intelligence organization no less formidable than the Black Feather Bureau or the Empire's agency. With his will and talent, he had completely taken over the syndicate as his own force. And then, when I lost everything at the hands of the Empire, the one who actively helped me on my journey of revenge was Kay. Even if it was the price for contributing to the syndicate's growth, if it weren't for Kay, I probably would have never gotten my hands on that relic, and I certainly wouldn't be here now. Information is a weapon. Just like when Aiden attended the blessing ceremony, no one knows how the future will turn. He is a man of outstanding ability. If this transaction goes smoothly and both sides maintain a good relationship, he will surely be a powerful ally in the future. As he thought this, Jack was led into a large warehouse. In front of them, a girl lit a stubby cigarette with a match, looking at Jack's face with amusement. "So, what reason does the new rising genius of the Draker family have for wanting to meet me?"